A sign from the universe that a deceased and beloved soul is still with you. So far away and yet so close. Death is not necessarily the end. Whether we see it that way depends very much on our spiritual anchoring and the idea of the afterlife that we are most comfortable with. There are no prohibitions in this regard. As we all know, thoughts are free. Every culture, every religion, and every person has their own ideas about what awaits us after the end. Like every worldview, the belief in life after death is neither right nor wrong. We can all decide for ourselves what makes sense to us in this context, nourishes our hopes and brings us closer to the end of our lives with a good feeling. The fact is that anyone who sees death as the ultimate turning point and the final destination must logically fear it. This applies to our own death, but also to that of loved ones. The latter is almost worse for us to bear than the idea of our own demise. The thought that they will still be with us in some form after they die is therefore more than just comforting. Many people believe that the spirits or auras of our deceased are among us. If you are open to this idea, here are a few clues to help you recognize their presence. 1. Certain scents are in the air. Freshly laundered laundry, a very special aftershave, apple pie, or incense. Many scents not only remind us of situations, but also of very specific people. An odor establishes a connection to our brain in a matter of seconds. There, it hits our long-term memory, which can assign it immediately. We are all the more surprised by moments, for example, on the street or in a shopping center, when we notice this one particularly distinctive smell among many people. In a fraction of an instant, we find ourselves in the kitchen of our beloved grandparents, standing with our loved ones in the middle of a flower garden, or sniffing the unmistakable, luxurious perfume of our mother or a good friend who was taken from us far too soon. These flashbacks are powerful and can really upset us. Hardly any other mental or emotional conclusion is as direct as the connection between smells and our memories. 2. White feathers as a symbol. The white feather is a symbol that has been used for many mystical messages throughout human history. This is probably due to its rarity. In fact, it is not all too often that we come across a sign like this by the side of the road. White feathers are generally regarded as messages from above. They are often associated with our guardian angels. It therefore stands to reason that the deceased or their souls also use this message service. White feathers are therefore always a good sign of higher powers. 3. Their proximity is clearly noticeable. What is always portrayed very negatively in scary movies is rather comforting in real life. We sometimes feel the closeness of our deceased loved ones as if they were in the same room with us. We don't need an icy breeze or supernatural phenomena for this. Souls have a presence that they can make us feel. There has been much speculation about these processes. Unfair intentions of profit-oriented spiritualists have mainly contributed to our outright rejection of the idea of the presence of the dead among us. We refuse to believe in this mumbo-jumbo. However, those who are open to the idea that the veil between life and death is permeable and variable may well be proven wrong. It doesn't matter whether we want to understand the term presence in physical or metaphysical terms. We can probably feel deceased loved ones with every fiber of our body if we allow it. They are always with us as long as they are in our hearts and minds. To occasionally feel that they are closer to us than we think is therefore a generous gesture of goodwill from these spirits. They do not want to harm or frighten us in any way. 4. Some objects speak to us. Heirlooms are much more than just ornaments or precious treasures that can be turned into money in an absolute emergency. They create a tangible connection to their owners, which automatically makes them part of our lives. Surprisingly, possessions from the deceased always fall into our hands when we could use some good advice. We always get what we need, whether we want it or not. Our ancestors and all others who have already crossed the Styx always keep a watchful eye on us. If they have to speak to us through things that were once in their possession, it clearly shows a certain sense of style, coupled with pragmatism. 5. Meeting point dream. Our dreams are the ideal portal for communicating with the deceased. When they appear in our dreams, it is always a sign that they are keeping a watchful eye on us. Depending on how we feel the morning after, such images can also be understood as a warning. Sometimes the souls of our loved ones give us a head start in knowing that vigilance is required. 6. They speak to us through our inner voice. Those who cultivated a good and close relationship during their lifetime do not necessarily have to give it up after death. People with whom we have spent many years of our lives never really leave us. We still sit at the table with them, follow the news closely, or face problems that could urgently use their feedback. And this is what we get. We can really let the deceased speak to us by listening to ourselves on specific occasions. What advice would they give us? What comment would they have in store for us in this situation? What bon mot would they add to this conversation? People who have spent a lot of time together can maintain a good relationship even after death. 7. Electromagnetic interference is increasing. A street lamp flickers, appliances break down, or strange loose contacts accumulate. Although these phenomena have not been satisfactorily explained in physical terms, they have always been associated with paranormal activity. 8. Pieces of music sound again and again. Songs and pieces of music work in a similar way to scents and smells. They immediately establish a connection to the people in whose presence we once listened to these sounds. Some music accompanies us throughout our lives and beyond death. Only those who are forgotten are dead. This well-known phrase basically sums up everything you need to know about dealing with deceased loved ones. Even if it is painful to no longer have them around us in the flesh, the end is not the end. They live on in our memories, in our stories, and in every day when we touch things of theirs and inhale unmistakable scents that make us think of them. Our ideas about death, the afterlife, and life after death are important to prevent us from despairing when saying goodbye to loved ones. Whatever it is that eases this pain is good and right for us.